It's not leading us to our phone. Okay, there you go. Good morning.
I seem to be in a black hole. I don't know.
Alrighty.
It's like gray there. I don't know why.
Do you see us?
Can you
Have we
see
got
us?
any faces? Is my wife going to be on her laptop to make sure that we can see who's with us? Okay.
Ezra October is watching.
Okay. So my producer is
Setting up.
before us. So as you can see, we have Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
So what happened? Are we allowed to name names and shame people,
I don't
shame
know if
companies?
you should.
Okay, I'm going to name it in any case.
Okay.
We were with a company.
Oh no.
Every host is the service provider with whom.
We're crooked.
Oh, okay. We're going to turn our. My goodness.
I don't know if it will let us. Should we try?
Yeah. Is it that way around? Okay, here we go. Let's see. Sorry about that, all your folk. It said to turn us around and we didn't. So every host is our service provider with whom we're very happy. But then you have to choose a company that has installed the fiber installers.
Okay.
And unfortunately, there were two companies to choose from, Frogfoot and OpenServe. We chose Frogfoot, and we literally never heard from them in like
5, 6
a
weeks.
month,
Yeah.
just about a month. And every reason, and every host tried their best, but they
Shame.
couldn't get any report out of.
We felt bad for every
FrogServe.
host.
So finally we told them to just go to OpenServe, and we swapped then the provider of the fiber, and within days they called us and connected. So here we are, finally, after a month in our house, we have internet connection. So there we go. The other thing is, after a month in our house, we moved in yesterday, a month ago, and yesterday my son flew off to America. So he only got to stay with us here in Franschhoek for a full month. And what was interesting is that it's a 3-bedroom house, and as I think some of you know, Zach had to give up his apartment in the lockdown, so he's living with us, and with Alyssa, my daughter. Zach and David had to share rooms for the last month, and they adapted really well. And now Zach has the room to himself till he gets married sometime early-ish next year, and then I'll actually have a study. Charlotte then will have a craft and creative room and a study. So it's weird how the house gets empty, and that empty nest feeling. So pretty soon it'll just be me and Charlotte and Alyssa. So that's us. I have not got my glasses on because it makes little rings on the. I'll show you on the ring light.
He gets ring lights on his glasses. It's quite funny.
But I can try and put them on and look down. How's that? Okay, so I'll try and put them on and look down, and then I can see, try and see what people are writing. Okay, so good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Have we got any internationals watching with us? Yes.
Not yet.
Mary Ann, I connected you with someone. I'm sure you heard about that with Jody. So make sure Dr. Sengi lets you know, so that we can help connect Jody. For those of you that don't know, we are all about connection in family. We do not believe that God joins us to institution, and so we are discouraging in every way we can our identity with the institution. Of course, we find our identity in Christ, but we find our connection in family, in an environment where the Lord connects us with people that can speak into our lives in a family context, spiritual fathers to spiritual sons, and even in the case of this young woman, Mary Ann, senior woman who will speak into the lives of younger women, and I, it's such an important role. It's so important that we have these mature sons of God, these women that can speak into the lives of younger women with compassion, with understanding, but with godly wisdom, and who can raise them to maturity as sons of God. So awesome. Let's see. Robert is there. Who else am I missing? Am I missing anyone?
Let's see. Oh, shoot. It was Mary Ann.
Deirdre is there. Hi, Deirdre.
Allison,
we're doing well, thank you.
Allison Blum,
so good
Holly.
to hear from you. Haven't seen you in a while, in ages. Okay, Mary Ann has already. She's up it, as Clyde would say.
Yeah.
Up it. All right.
Mary Percent.
Who?
Mary
Where did you see?
Percent. Over here. And Allison Blum.
Okay. And Derek September.
Derek
There we
just
go.
came
This
on.
thing is not renewing.
No, this one doesn't show me who's on.
Okay. All right. We'll find it. All right. So, if there's any questions,
Leanne Dupria and Jennifer Kleinhans are also
ooh,
on.
yeah, yes, Opie show. This is not a show for those of you that.
Although it could be.
For those of you that
Snyman
gather with
Comedy
us,
Hour.
yeah, it's okay. That's fine. For those of you that gather with us as the family, in the last few Sunday mornings, you know that we said we're not sitting in those chairs waiting for the show to begin, because there is no show to begin. But in this case, I'll forgive you if you're sitting there waiting for something to begin. My wife made shortbread. She made it for David.
Jennifer Kleinhans.
She makes an awesome shortbread. If you want the shortbread recipe, okay, here's the deal. So this is what happened.
It's a Nigella Lawson.
This is what happened. No, this is what happened.
What happened?
So my wife loves cooking and she loves baking.
Yes.
But
This was my nemesis.
for some reason,
One of
she
my
never
nemesises.
ever made shortbread. And you know, there's those things that remind you of if your mother or grandmother has passed away. There's certain things that they used to cook that just remind you of them. And so my grandmother, she was the sweetest thing. She was really an amazing woman. But she would always bake me either crunchies or shortbread. And finally, my wife made shortbread, and it just reminds me so much of my grandmother. For those of you that don't know, that weren't in Lighthouse like many moons ago, she was with us those years. Many people couldn't say Moriarty, so they called her Oma M.
Really? I didn't know
We
that.
do that in South Africa. We just give a letter. Ne? We called her Gran, but her name was Alice May Moriarty, and so that's where my daughter gets her name from. Spelled differently, but her name is Alyssa May, hyphenated, and instead of Alice, it's Alyssa, and instead of May, M-A-Y,
It's M-E-I.
it's her mother's May, because Charlotte is Charlotte May Lynn with a M-E-I. So Alyssa got her name from her grandmother, and her grandmother made the awesomest shortbread for me. At least I remember it to be the awesomest. And now my wife has been baking it, and it's a hit. It doesn't last long in the house. And she made a batch for David, who took half of the batch with him on the aeroplane.
Yes.
So we trust he's enjoying it, because he didn't get much food on the plane. a sad thing. I just saw a few minutes ago, Neville D flew to Johannesburg, and he said that to avoid personal contact and everything with this COVID, they don't do in-flight service.
Not at all.
And my son on an international flight, imagine that when they say we don't do any in-flight service. So
you get no drinks.
I mean, it used to be before lockdown. You fly internationally, they all over serving all the time. You can ask for anything, and they bring you whatever you want to drink or snacks or whatever. Now, nothing. The meal was wrapped in like plastic so that no one had to touch it, and they could not have to deal with anyone. And so, yeah, it's sad to fly on an international flight and now have no in-service. In-flight service.
That's gonna break off in your coffee.
No, I'm gonna eat it.
He's gonna have like floating. What is it?
So while there's not much food for him, hopefully he's enjoying his shortbread. And not only does he enjoy the shortbread, but he also joined Charlotte the time before this and learned how to make it himself. So when he gets to Asher, who's my oldest son in America, he will be able to bake shortbread for them.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I took David to Pick and Pay yesterday, and it was so funny because, I just a very limited amount in my account, and I woke up and I was like, okay, what deposited a little bit of money? It wasn't like hundreds of thousands, it was like $100,000, and I thought, what on earth? And I was like, I know it's not Peter. And then I saw it was Discovery Health, their what do you call it? Healthy benefit, when you go to Woolies or Pick and Pay. And, but it was just enough that I could get him something. So I was so excited because I knew he couldn't bring in, cooked sandwiches and things like that. So it's like biltong. So it's like, okay, so David, we ran to the store yesterday, and I'm like, what are your favorite things? I knew what they would be, but I said, come, you choose. So he chose those, Maynard gummies, the Jersey one. All I'm thinking was sugar. Then he got himself a box of Romney creams, but the choc mint. He got himself something else as well. Then Pringles, sweet and sour Pringles, and one other thing.
Sweet and sour?
Or vinegar.
Okay.
Salt and vinegar. I knew it was something like that. And there was something else, because it was, and then I gave him the shortbread yesterday. So he had that all packed in his laptop, in his, what do you call it, backpack.
So that's a mother taking care of her son. For those of you that were there this morning, Marita says...
she said she pressed the wrong name.
She meant Charlotte. She asked if Charlotte's feeling better. Charlotte made me shed a tear this morning.
I don't know why.
So let me tell you about Charlotte. Okay. Zach just walked in. You know what made your mom cry just now? What? I said she's gonna cry when I do to her something that she said David was an irritation doing, and I leant over her and I did like that.
But I'm not gonna cry now because you did it once. You did it once, and now I'm fine.
So Charlotte is not a crier. Okay.
No, I hate it.
Are you getting tears in your eyes again?
No.
Okay. She's not a crier. She just hates crying. And
I find it exhausting, and I find it draining.
She just doesn't cry.
I don't
She
like
hardly ever cries.
I don't like that feeling afterwards. It's disgusting.
But fortunately, with this leaving of David, she did more than her fair share of crying. She cried a few times before he left, and she cried a few times after he left. And even when we were gathering as a family this morning, she got a bit teary-eyed. And so that's what I think Marita is referring to. Not that Marita saw her, but could sense that she was feeling the emotion of it. Because last week, you can cry. That's okay.
Look at the faces.
Last week, Sunday, the family prayed for David and sent him off. And
dang it! Look.
I know, it's lovely, but we love it. And so let me tell you this thing. So David is a very loving, caring son. He's almost like a middle child, even though he's my youngest son. But he's like a middle child in that he's very sensitive to people's needs, and and caring that way. And so he has this habit, but we experienced him having this habit that he would come and he would normally lean over from the back and just kiss Charlotte.
Well, sometimes it was like a wet kiss, like you would, I don't know, like on a kid, you know?
And she didn't like it.
Yeah.
To be honest, she doesn't like it. She said it was irritation. And she let David know in various times that it's irritation, that it irritates him. But he would do it in any case. Partially because he's got a bit of me in him that likes to tease, but other part just because he's a loving son. And so this is the lesson. When I did that to Charlotte just now, and even now, it evokes those emotions. Because sometimes even the things that irritate us about people are actually precious. When we realize that people do things not out of bad intent, and even things that people do that irritate us very often comes from good intentions. Just it's their personality and it's who they are. And so when they're not there, then you realize what you miss. And you miss about them. Not that Charlotte particularly likes people to kiss her on the head or on the forehead.
No.
She doesn't. She's not a touchy-feely type of
I
person.
hate it.
But the fact is, she can appreciate it now because, and I gloat, because I used to tell her, one day if David's not here, you're going to miss that. And she would say, I don't like it. I
hate it. I still hate it.
And I said,
your dad's rude.
You're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. Come kiss on the forehead, Jack.
She's going to cry again.
So,
I had tears in my eye. Your dad's an idiot.
So that's the moral of the story. Appreciate people, even the things about them that you don't like, even the irritating things. My wife is going to
punch you.
No, don't come back to me. I need you. She's going to get something to wipe her tears. Okay, that's fine.
Stupid.
So when I do marriage counseling, premarital counseling, I often would ask couples this thing. I don't ask them what they love about each other because that's easy to deal with, all the things we love about each other. I'd ask them, what irritates you about that person? What irritates you about that person? And those are the things, those irritations that you're committing to live with for the rest of your life. You're committing, when you say I do, you commit to those irritations for the rest of your life. But don't leave the dog, stay with us here. So when you think about it, even the things that irritate you about that person are actually what makes them uniquely different.
Absolutely.
And those unique differences is actually what attracted you in the first place. So very often the thing that attracts you about them being so different, the enemy can use to take your eyes off the prize, that you feel, no, they are irritation to me and I can't stand it, and that just gets my goat, or it just rubs me up the wrong way. But in fact, those differences and those uniquenesses are what make people so special, and is even what either attracts us in the case of married partners, but also in the case of our son, endears us to him. It's something unique about David, and he can be quirky and different. He can even sometimes have appeared awkward, but those are the things that are so special about him and endears him to us. And so learn to appreciate the little things, even the irritating things, even the things that are different. Because, we never know how much time we have with the people that we love and God has placed in our life as family. Okay, so let's say, hey Jessica, hello.
Nigel says, my wife gets irritated
Yes.
by my lame jokes. Thank you for your encouragement.
This is so true. So, not that Nigel's planning on
He's
dying
not-
or leaving without Zelene to America anytime soon. But the thing, and that's a perfect example. So, Nigel makes these cheesy jokes, these lame jokes, as he calls them. And
They're dad jokes.
even though
Dad
Zelene
jokes.
might make as if it irritates her, that is part of what attracted her to Nigel. That's part of what made him so attractive to her, because he's different than she is. And those things that his personality and his nature and those things about him are actually the things that we can appreciate. And even though my wife hates me to tease her, and I tease her all the time, or I do little things that tease her just because she doesn't like it, I keep on. You see, those things. Then one day, if I was to die, she would miss that. And she would just wait for someone to come and touch her ear, something like that. And so we can learn to be patient and put up with one another, and actually even to celebrate those unique differences. Like, for instance, if my wife was to die and I wake up in the morning and there's not someone next to me sniffing every 10 seconds, like...
I can't help it. The medication didn't want to work last night.
So my wife, sometimes she has these allergies, especially when she sits up in bed in the morning and she leans over to look at what's on her iPad or whatever, then like it just runs and she doesn't even realize it. Every 10 seconds.
Now I was usually just checking my phone to see if I need to get up.
And even though it irritates the heck out of me, I know I'll miss that. If she was to die, I'd even go and look on that pillowcase for, is there any snot left over just of my wife?
That's disgusting.
And that's the thing.
Disgusting.
That's
actually what he would miss is somebody doing the techie stuff.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But that's
because he doesn't know the password.
That's not the things that I love about you. I'm talking about the things that could possibly irritate.
Oh, irritate.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to love the things I love.
I think irritate for me, for you. I mean,
for me, for you, for me.
Whatever.
For me, for you, for me.
Would be that I'm not adventurous in the natural stuff.
Oh, yeah. I love outdoors and I love nature and I love the ocean and I love the mountains, as I said today. Even though once the mature sun emerges out of the earth, in the earth, that is an accurate representation of the nature and character of Christ. The earth will pass away. I said that this morning, even though it's going to pass away and it will dissolve because it's accomplished its purpose. I love nature and I love the mountains. I love outdoors. And my wife...
I like nature. I like looking at it.
She loves looking at it on a TV set while sitting on her couch. But to go and for a walk into nature or on the beach... Then
no,
but
the beach is the sand.
Yeah,
I don't like
sand.
the texture.
I don't want to get
I
sand
don't like
on my
the
face.
sand in between my toes and stuff.
I mean, it would be such a romantic thing to go walking on the beach. And my wife says, you can go walk. I'll stay here.
I've done it already.
I've been there. I've seen the ocean. I know what it looks like. That's just, yeah.
It's okay. Pull me away.
So I won't miss the fact that you don't like nature, but of course every time, if you weren't there and every time I watched a movie or sat in front of the TV or saw a book.
Did we watch this?
And wondered if I've ever seen a movie before or ever seen that show, of course I'll miss you, because I can't remember what movies I've seen, and then I have to ask my wife if I watched it and what it's about. And she tells me I have, and I says I haven't. And then as I watch it, I remember that I have, but I can't remember what's going to happen. Okay, so let's see. Are there any questions?
Nope, no questions. I've been watching.
There must be questions.
No, there's been no questions. I can promise you.
Oh, come on. Let someone give us some questions. Okay, I want to ask some questions.
You want to ask a question? questions, or do you want them to ask the
Yeah,
questions?
or that.
Yeah.
If you have questions.
Yeah, don't go off.
Ermine is watching.
I know, and so is David Alblander, by the way.
David,
Yeah.
David is
David and Ziggy. See?
David,
David
my
Alblander.
David is on the way to Atlanta. He's arriving tonight. He'll be there
Well,
tonight.
our tonight, David.
Your tonight. No, your tonight.
Your tonight, it will be our morning.
So he's arriving in Atlanta. Your tonight.
Yeah.
And so Ash is going to go and pick him up. It'll be nice, David and Ziggy, if there's a chance. If you in Atlanta and he can go and visit you sometime, he'd love to do that. David, my David, loves visiting with people. And,
He does.
and-
Oh my goodness.
And so talking about visiting, we're talking of some of our other favorite people here. So Ermine Flemix is watching from Komati Poort, and we just had the most glorious visit with him not too long
months
ago.
ago.
It feels like months ago. In fact,
It was months ago.
we were on the way to them when we found out that we have to move out of the house that we were renting. We only found out, and were given 2 months notice,
Yeah.
of which we only took 6 weeks.
We took, a month and a half.
So we
Yeah,
moved
6
out.
weeks.
So that was a month and a half. And then we've been here for a month. So it was 2.5 months ago we were with Ermine.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful to visit with them out there in Komati Poort. So last weekend when it was raining here in the Cape during November,
It's raining next week.
when it was
too.
raining and cold,
But it was heavy rain.
I
It's a
kept
different-
seeing Ermine as posting it's 44 degrees, it's 44
They were
degrees,
like,
it's
it's cold.
44 degrees.
It's actually kind of a wintry
So,
day.
oh Lord, I love that part of the world, but I love it in the winter. I don't know if I love it in the summer. I might stay there for 6 months in the winter and come to Cape Town 6 months in the summer. When I was young, we went on holiday to White River, and I remember thinking I could live here for 6 months of the year and live in Cape Town the other 6 months, but it has to be the right 6 months, not the summer months. It's really hectic. And so what might happen with all my children if they move to America,
Are you
we
actually
might-
going to say this?
yes, if my children move to America, I've said this, and people saying, "Oh, Peter's
You can't say
Peter's
this.
going to be. You can't say you're going to be leaving." I'm not saying I'm going to be leaving, but I am going to be on a regular basis where my grandchildren are. So it might be that we end up being there for 3 months and here for 3 months and there for 3 months, or something like that. Maybe we are going to be traveling more, if possible, if the Lord opens those doors, to be with our grandchildren when they are there. But I cannot
We
see, I
won't-
cannot
yeah,
imagine,
no, definitely
I
not.
cannot imagine not being in the life of my grandchildren. That to me is the most important thing. Unfortunately, what we've realized now with the lockdown is that we can be fairly connected and very much connected specifically to those that the Lord has given us, our spiritual sons and family, without necessarily having to physically be present and meet. And so the Lord, by that time, look, my children aren't even married yet. So once they're married, then we'll start trusting the Lord for the
They're
right
slow
time
starters.
for grandchildren. But once there's grandchildren, you can bet I'm going to be regularly going to visit grandchildren. Okay, so how did the parents' move go?
That was from
Megan
Megan.
asked. So for those of you that don't know, my parents moved last week.
Yes.
My dad, he's almost 83. He is
No, he's
amazing. He is amazing. He is an absolute
he's a star.
amazing machine. So not only did he and mom sort out that house, they moved from a large house into a smaller house in
small
a
house.
retirement complex, and there was so much to sort out and so much to move. Not only did dad move at his age of 80, almost 83, but you must see the house. They moved in on Tuesday, By Sunday, we went to go and have lunch with them last Sunday, and it looked like they've been living there for a year. They were so. That's Dad. He just has it settled, and everything's in its place, and everything's sorted out.
Well, he drew out templates for the piano and different things.
And they only have one garage. I thought for sure, like us, they're not going to get their car in that garage for a long time. Not only we went to go and see him today after we gathered with the family. Not only is in their garage, it's a extended long garage, but it's a single garage. So they got a washing machine and dryer and like a little kitchenette, the wash basin and things and cupboard. He's got carpets and pictures hanging on the wall in the garage. It looks like a lounge. And his car fits in.
Yep.
And I mean, it looks like there's literally people that come just to visit, just to see how amazing the house is. He's had people in tears already that have seen the house and are just blown away. Because it speaks of obviously what they had to give up, having such a large house. But they are happy. They are happy. They know this is God's timing for them. They are so fulfilled in knowing this is the right time to move, and God opened the doors miraculously. Not only did they get this perfect house that they needed at this retirement village at the rate that was a great rate, but also they got the buyer at the same time. Everything just worked out. And Mom and Dad, they're not going to want to move later than this. I mean, at almost 83, it's amazing that Dad was able to do what he did. But
he's still 82.
But he'll be 83 in January. And for him we're coming to the end of the year. It's like we're arranging end of the year parties already. So for Dad to have to think about doing this later on, the Lord's timing was perfect.
Yeah.
And so they are happy. If someone in the family wants to go visit them, let me know. I'll put you in touch with them, and you can book a lunch with them. They have a lovely place where they stay, where you can enjoy lunch with them, and do that. I know they keep their social distancing, but for those close friends and family that know them, that want to go and visit with them over a table.
She just visited them, and it was a little cozy setup, and even she said she was in tears.
Yeah.
Peter's not
All
telling
right.
a story.
What a cozy setup. Yes. So Mary Ann was in tears. I told you. You think
he doesn't listen.
I listened, but you think I don't tell you the truth when I said people have been in tears just seeing how beautiful they set their house up. So awesome.
Kanisa sent a message just now on WhatsApp. She said they made the first sushi platter.
Awesome, Kanisa.
I couldn't see the pictures because it's my WhatsApp is
okay. We'll
not
look.
open,
We'll
but
look
I'll
later.
later.
So we had. I bet you watched our pictures, Kanisa. You looked at our pictures because on Thursday night, we had sushi with David. He asked for a sushi
we had
night.
so much. I thought we would not
I bet
finish
you
it.
saw the picture Charlotte posted of the platters of sushi, and you were inspired. You go, girl.
We had 4 platters of sushi. We had 5 pieces of sushi left at the end of the night.
Like
it was
little
pieces. I was like, how can you guys eat so much?
And the only reason we didn't eat more sushi is that there was no more.
There was no more rice.
No more sushi rice.
So we went through 1.5 bags of sushi rice and.
But my sons and my children know how to polish off sushi.
So they did too. Oh, she loved it.
Yeah, that was the inspiration. I told you, Kanye. But it was right. As I said this morning in the gathering, Paul says, you know my example. You know my life. You can follow me. You can follow my teaching. You can follow my example because you know me.
My sushi making.
Okay, so I know that's taking it out of context, but still. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I encourage those this morning not to listen to strange voices in terms of we're coming into a season where many are going to be deceived. Many are going to be deceived, the Bible says. And so even if people have good teachings and good TV shows and whatever, do not listen to strange voices, because their messages might sound good and might even appear to be 100%. But if you do not know their lives, do not listen to strange voices. Allow God to use those whose lives you know to speak into you. So I was just making a little joke, pulling it out of context for Kanyisa to follow us in making sushi. But
Megan was asking, I hear the church was flooded again, and where does the water come
no, Megan. The church is full of the Holy Spirit. We are flooded
The building was
with the
flooded.
Holy Spirit. And if that building is called the church, Megan, I know you're going to repent right now. I'm waiting for it. Yes, I'm waiting for it. Where is it? It's going to come. For so rachivar. Because if you call that building that was flooded the church, I know. So what we have in our building, the building's called the Lighthouse Christian Center, for those of you that don't know. We have a bit of a challenge, specifically when the municipality doesn't clean out the leaves and stuff that wash into the drains and the sewage system. Sometimes it gets blocked down the road, and that water, when there's a sudden build up of rainwater and flash floods, then the water rises, and it literally rises up through the floor in the auditorium. So it didn't come from outside running through the doors like it did when we had the massive flood, but it rises up because the actual floor level of our auditorium is below ground level. It's below the street level. And so that's, yes, you are repenting. Thank you. I know. You are repented, because I know it's not in your heart, Megan, but for the sake of the children, we are correcting the language. I know your thinking is corrected, but we're correcting the language. So we don't refer to our building as the church, lest we find identity in those things, in those institutions. All right. I do love to tease. Who loves to tease? What am I doing?
You love to tease.
Yes, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
Paul's watching. Are you watching from London, Paul? It's good to see you.
Nigel has a real good question.
Okay, what's Nigel saying?
With regards to people who are still functioning in the old charismatic season, where the focus is on winning souls and revival, what's a good place to start sharing with those who are willing to hear, to bridge the gap between where they are and what God is doing in this season? Oh my goodness. That's a big question.
What's a good place to start sharing?
With those who are willing to
bridge
hear
a gap between where they are
and what God is doing
and what
in
God
this
is
season.
doing.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, indeed, Paul is in London. Good to have you, Paul. Our international family and listeners. Okay, so Nigel, let's try and get to the question. So when we are people who are still functioning in the old charismatic season, so you're not talking about soul winning, Nigel, just because you say the focus is on revival and winning souls. But you're saying not where do we start with lost people to win them.
No, it's...
You're saying where do we start in speaking to people in a charismatic season?
Exactly.
Whose focus has been on
the old stuff. Right. But they're curious as to what's happening now.
Yeah, so they're willing to hear.
Yes.
So that's the key. I'm reading the question because when you write exams, matriculants and others, when you write exams, you need to read the question. Okay? Read the question. So let me read. A good place to start to bridge the gap between where they are and they're willing to listen. Okay, so the important thing is that this can't be something that we convince people because we want to convince them. It has to be a stirring in their hearts. When they're willing to hear, it mustn't just mean they're willing to put up with you going on a tirade about what you understand of this season and criticizing the season that they are in. It must be people that are saying, we don't want to miss what God is saying, and we want to hear, tell us. And those type of people, you find. I would say, I would start with talking about God's purpose for creating us. That's always, look, I think it's a universal question that the human being wants to have resolved. Why are we here? Obviously, where do we come from? And why are we here? What is their purpose in this life? Is there purpose for me? Why am I here? And so, to share that, because that ultimately is the good news. So just as in the old season, people that would want to share the gospel would start with, you're a sinner and Jesus died on the cross and you must repent of your sins so that you can go to heaven. I would start on why you're here, why God created you, why He created the universe, what is God's intent and purpose, and then what has Christ done in provision for that. Remember, dying on the cross was not where God started making provision. That was the culmination of the provision that God made. He started with the lamb slain before the foundation of the earth. God has always made provision for His purposes to be accomplished in reconciling us to Him. And so that's the good news. You are not preaching at people who want to hear the good news and want have something in their spirit yearning for the truth. And I tell you what, there's a lot of people who honestly are sick and tired of the empty rhetoric, so to speak, of church speak, religious speak, and the things that have been said but that ring hollow because there must be more. And this is the thing that's in the hearts of people. There must be more. There must be more than this. And if that's the question in their heart, if the question in their heart is there must be more, that's God. That's God. Because those who are fulfilled in being filled with the Spirit and with the Spirit of wisdom and revelation, the Spirit of God that is illuminating your spirit and renewing, upgrading and updating on a constant basis like you do a computer, upgrading and updating and renewing those programmings so that we have the mind of God, mind of Christ. Those people do not feel there must be more. Those people are so excited that I can hardly keep up with the things that God is revealing and the things God is working in me. And I'm so excited that God is doing this. So the question, if they have, there must be more. That's an open door to start sharing the good news of why we are created and what God's purpose is and the provision He's made to ultimately accomplish. As I said today in our gathering, the ultimate purpose for which God created the heavens and the earth, all of creation, is to provide an environment in which the Son can be made manifest. And when this corporate Son, in the image and likeness of Christ, emerges in the earth, then the purpose for creation has been fulfilled and it can pass away. But when people understand that is God's intent, that's why we are. This is what creation is about. That's what it's meant to accomplish. They can start getting with the program, so to speak, and be fulfilled in that. They won't be longing for more once they connected with the ultimate purposes of God. Yep, that's it. So Nigel summed it up in one sentence. God's original intent is the best place to start. Well, that's where I would start.
Sorry, my seat keeps scooting forward. There.
The shortbread's good, baby.
Is it good?
So much more. Eat some more. All right. Any other
I
questions?
think it's better than eat some more. I find that very dry.
Let's see, who else is watching?
I don't know. Let's see. Oh, no.
Any other questions?
Glenville Lovelot?
Lavalot, where?
There at the bottom it says.
Oh, wow.
And then Shireen Chesterton.
Alrighty.
And I can't read that. Something Euphrates.
Where? I can't see it.
And Gail Stewart just came on.
Alrighty.
You're not going to see it there.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Marianne says Oliver Twist. Charlotte.
Please, sir, may I have
yes.
some more? Can
But
I have
Oliver
some
Twist
more?
never got to eat shortbread, even though it's a very British thing, isn't it? I think it's like Scottish. Hey, Scottish
shortbread.
shortbread. Because I always used to sell them in the cans with like Scottish plaid on it. Hey, remember those tin cans?
You can still get them. You can still get
So
them at
Scottish.
Christmas.
It's a Scottish thing.
Christmas, I've seen
My
them.
wife, so
Chicken
by
back.
the way, has, even though she's not she's adopted, her adopted family, American adopted family, has got Scottish descent, Macmillans.
Yes, that's Papa side.
Yes.
Well, Nana was Mooneyham, so I don't know what that is.
So her has got Scottish in her. That's why she's such a good shortbread maker.
Well,
All right. So we are just shooting the breeze here, sharing a little bit about our lives. If you want to ask deeper questions, you're welcome to do that. But where the Mooneyhams come from? Oh, Charlotte's looking up Mooneyhams. That's a weird surname. Never known what where they come from.
yeah, I don't know. It
Okay.
doesn't say.
All right, they live in
That's
America,
dumb.
in the South. Right, so any questions? There we go. Joseph says, can you read it, baby? Yeah.
South Africa has many churches, each one with their own structure. Each one have a specific calling focus in the body of Christ, like working with youth, children, poor, etc. Believers should choose one where they feel fed and where they can live out their calling in the body.
Yeah, so that's, I know my wife has just taken the question off me, so I can't read it again.
No, it wasn't a question, it was just a
I know the
statement.
comment, but so it's true what Joseph says, and he calls it many churches, and in the definition of the church being the family of God in different localities, in different ways that it's put together, each forming the holy nation, it's correct. Of course, we don't refer to the institution as the church, but it is true that family, that spiritual family, is there are many different families, spiritual houses, spiritual families, and each of them have a unique calling. And we see this even in the book of Revelation, where different churches are admonished and commended for different things. When God commends them, he says, he commends them for doing that and for doing that and for doing that, but what he has against them is that they've not done this and not done that. It's not the same for each. Everyone has a unique set of environments and callings. So this is true. Another way to put that, Paul, is that they each have a different grace. Each have a different grace. And
That was actually Joseph, not Paul.
yeah, sorry, Joseph. I see Paul under it talking about biltong. Yeah. So what Joseph is saying, each family has a different grace. And you'll even see this as I've used the illustration in the animal kingdom. And like it's very clear in the baboon tribes, because we have a lot of them here in the Cape. And in South Africa. The nature and character of the baboons of the tribe take on the nature and character of the patriarch, of the leader. And so I believe too that the grace that God gives to the father of the house also has a great determining factor as to what that household is called to operate in a certain grace. And so I've mentioned in our context, some of you, most of you know that I relate to Sam Solon, and I'm of that tribe, so to speak. And those that relate to our spiritual house will be partakers of that grace. And a particular aspect of that grace, if you look at the 12 tribes depicted in Scripture, tribes of Israel and represented before the throne, there's a very particular characteristic, the banner of those tribes, and even of the four camps: the lion, the man, the ox, and the flying eagle, as represented around the throne. The grace on Sam and on this tribe and on this household is very, very much connected to that picture of the lion, the banner of the lion, which has got to do with a righteous rule and setting in order and bringing accurate alignment with God's, how God's orders work and his judicial structures. And it's a grace that Sam operates in, that we are beneficiaries of, and we operate in that. And so you'll find much of the grace that God has called us to is to be in the character and nature of the grace of what's represented in the banner of a lion. And we don't have to expect everyone to be like us, but when God has given you a father, then it's obvious that God wants you to operate in that grace of the Father. So instead of, I would just make this little adjustment. I agree with what you said, Joseph, but I would make this little adjustment. Instead of finding a church that meets what you think you want, your needs and the things that you like, and goes in the direction you want to go in terms of, oh, I like this ministry and I like that ministry and I like that they focus on that and I like that they focus on that. I think a more effective way and probably more in line with God's order would be find the relationships of the spiritual family and the spiritual household that God would place you in, and the spiritual father that God would give you, because very often the things that God wants to do in your life and mold you in are not the things that you're looking for, but it's the things you need. And so that father's grace will be extended to you, and you will grow in some things that you weren't necessarily looking for. So first find where God is connecting you in a spiritual family, and then you can start knowing that when God has connected you to that father, it's also the grace and the particular area of focus that he would have you functioning in within the family. And if you don't agree with that, it's because that's not to be your spiritual father. So there have been people, for instance, and whether it's been recently or over the months or years, when someone says to me, I'm resigning. Now, you can't really resign from the Lighthouse anymore, because the Lighthouse as an institution is like, it's a non-issue in terms of it's not the church, it's not the body of Christ. So, but if you say I'm resigning, in other words, I'm no longer part of the spiritual family, I don't say, oh, what have I done wrong, and could I do something better to keep them? Then I realize that God's not given them to me as sons, and their heart's not knit to me, and that's fine. If there are things that we can work out, we work it out in the context of there being a knowing that this is where God has placed me, and then we can work out any problem and any challenge and anything that's bothering, but you receive it and work it out because you know that's where God's placed you. But if you say, I'm out of here, well,
you can't do anything.
It's because your heart is not connected to that family and to that father. And that's fine. You should go. You should find where God is connecting you to a spiritual father. Unless, of course, you don't believe in any of the stuff. Then it doesn't matter where you go, because you're not going to be fully operating in God's the order and the grace that God would have you had you been connected to the family of God. Not saying you're going to hell or heaven, because it's not about that, but I am saying if you're not meaningfully connected in family, you are going to miss out on God's intention. All right.
Marianne says, no, I mean that which Peter said about the more, and the reaction of Pike when Oliver asked for more. So glad Peter is not like Pike.
Yeah, well, Charlotte knows books and stuff. I don't remember the characters of any books. So I guess Pike and those people are in Oliver Twist. I know Oliver was. So Pike must have been in Oliver Twist as well. I don't remember the characters of any movies or any books. I'm sorry. I'm one of those that say, oh, your face is familiar, but I can't remember your name. I'm not a good pastor. My dad is an excellent pastor. He remembers names of people
So does David.
he met in a parking lot a year ago, and he remembers them.
David does.
And David's much like my father. He's got a much more pastoral heart. Yes, so Joseph agrees.
Oh, but,
That's good, Joseph.
Yeah, that is
Even if you
good.
didn't agree. But I'm glad you agree. All right.
Oh, I found out my not Meemaw, but my Nana's, what do you call that? Not your married last name, the one you had.
Maiden name?
Thank you, that one. Her maiden name was Mooneyham, and it's Irish, and Papa was a Macmillan, which is Scottish. Can you imagine?
My mother be Irish
Yeah.
descent, and her mother was Moriarty. No, her father was Moriarty.
Yeah.
And her mother was Hammond, which is English. Hammond, as in the Hammond organs, which is an English surname, and Moriarty, which is an Irish surname. So you got your adopted family also came from the British descent.
Yeah. Oh, Paul Millard says, one of the things that helped me was belonging to a home cell after I joined Lighthouse.
Yeah.
That must have been so you.
Yeah, those are years ago.
Yeah.
So, and even though I believe home cells are healthy, I do feel that God is leading us a little bit deeper than beyond just a cell, but actually family, where you find who God has connected you to in terms of a spiritual father who can speak into your life. Because we allow people in our fellowship to speak into us only to a certain degree. But when actual correction is needed and input is needed, you only really receive that from someone who you've received as a father in your life. So what does Nigel say?
Well, Marianne first said Pike was offended because Oliver asked for more. And Nigel says, Papa Sam has such a brilliant way of consolidating truth. One such saying is, in a culture of political correctness for lawlessness,
Or lawlessness.
the sacrificial lamb is accuracy. I thought of this when you spoke about the propaganda war at our family gathering this morning.
It's a deep concept. So here it is. So the sacrificial lamb was just a shadow and a type. But if you are not looking for the true meaning of what God would display through shadow and type, you're happy to remain just with sacrificial lambs, where God wants us to move on into the deeper and fuller things of living as those who are in Christ due to the provision made. So that's deeper than just living in the shadow and type, where some people will be happy just to remain in putting up with the shadow and type, and not to live in the propitiation, not to be propitiated, but just to look at the pictures and the shadows and types of that propitiation. So that's a deep thing that Nigel just said. But there's so much more. There's so much more. And what I've found is there's people that that are not really interested, not hungry for the things of the Spirit. And they tend to say, ooh, this is too deep, or this is too much, or I didn't understand any of that. And you can't force people to want to understand. But when there's a hunger to understand, then a young child can understand these things. But there must be a hunger to want to know and to desire. You can be as intelligent as anything, but if there's not a desire to know, these things will be too complicated or too deep, or I can't understand anything you're saying. So,
hi, Alicia.
Was there anything else?
Nope, that's the end of the comments. Alicia Fario just came on.
Hey, Alicia, you're just in time for us to say
bye.
We off. Yeah, so we've been here for an hour, but obviously for those
it's been an hour. Exactly.
Tammy just joined as well. Those that are joining now, I'm sure you will go back and
rewind
and watch if you want to, as we shared a bit of our life. And Glenville is watching. Bring them on camera. Who says bring? No,
that's Facebook giving you the option.
Oh, you can bring people on camera.
Yeah.
Nachtig, machtig. All right. Well, here we are.
Letitia.
Letitia, one of our fine friends, close friends that we don't get to see nearly as much because
they live on the other side.
The other side of what is our peninsula. But awesome to see you. So I am going to end this with a reminder of what I said this morning in our family gathering. If we understand these things, there's the purpose for which God created the heaven and earth. The purpose for creation is to sustain and to see that what is produced is the merging of the corporate Son in the image and likeness of Christ. When this happens, then earth will pass away and will be done away with, because it's fulfilled that for which it was created. Its purpose has been attained to sustain this. The same end, the enemy, Satan, also only has one agenda: to come against, and that is what he does very well, but is singularly focused on coming against the emerging of Son in the earth. And so whenever the enemy comes against that in you, it's because he doesn't want you to connect to even the truth or the revelation of God raising up a mature Son, the corporate Son, to represent him in the earth accurately in the fullness of his nature and character. When this happens, and it will happen, when this happens, it is this Son that God will use to restore back to God that which the enemy, to present to God that which the enemy has stolen with Adam in robbing from him the sonship that he had with God. And so this is spiritual warfare. That's what it's about. God producing in us his nature and character, and taking us through the maturing process. Sometimes trials, sometimes fires, sometimes tribulation. The other side, the enemy doing all he can to oppose and overthrow that which is Son in the earth, that which is the revelation of Christ. Anything that is the revealing of Christ in corporate Son, that's what the enemy is against. Be on the ball. Be sharp. Do not be deceived. Do not allow your soul to be drawn and enticed by the enemy. Walk in the Spirit and allow God to produce in you individually the maturity, but even more so to join you in the body where corporately he's going to raise up a mature Son. That's what God is doing, and that's what we're about. And the end of the story is declared. Satan is defeated by this glorious Son who will rise with healing in its wings, and we will be rejoicing in that. So God bless you. Good to see you all. Hope you are encouraged, even in our little stories, in our family sharings. We know that in whatever we can just be real with you. We could hopefully be an encouragement to you to appreciate the relationships God has given you, appreciate those that God has put in your life, your family, and your spiritual family, and draw from the grace of each of those that God has placed into your life. Alrighty, well, God bless. You want to say anything, my baby?
No, nothing. Have a good one.
She looks so good. Her tears are dried up for now.
Yeah, now my left eye's itchy.
Okay.
I figure.
Well, we'll see you all. Good bless.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye.